Wait, what?
I was going for the airbrushed approach.
Where you go?
I love it.
He's trying to get the lashes on the sides and shit. You know what I mean?
Oh my god, it's kind of weird.
Yeah. Look, man. I mean, you know,
No,
it's good. It's good. It's good. Welcome back, everybody, to Star Talks. We're going to be discussing the fifth episode of Obi-Wan Kenobi. We have some new players here. Shaylin was actually in the original first recording for episode 1, but unfortunately, due to technical issues, she
lost tape.
Yeah. Sorry, guys. It's not. I don't know who did it. It was me.
We have a curse. The group has
Yeah.
a curse.
Yeah.
We just do.
Absolutely. But we persevere. We go after it. But anyway, so yeah, welcome back to officially welcome to the show and welcome back to the show. Shaylin, since you're our new guest on the show, please tell us like your overall thoughts of the series so far and episode 5.
Yeah. So I watched it 3 times. The most that I've watched any of these episodes because I have been relatively quiet, maybe not to Fuma now that I think about this, about not really liking Kenobi so far. But mostly the pacing feels a bit off. The writing's a little shitty. It feels very TV in a way that doesn't remind me of The Mandalorian and some of the better written shows, at least as far as I've gotten in those shows. So that's been disappointing thus far. But I think because this episode essentially serves as the climax for the series, pacing was on point for me. They didn't have time to have bad writing because everything needed to push it forward. So I really enjoyed it. I felt like there was a void of Vader content, and that definitely was fixed. I thought Reva, this was her best episode yet. I felt like we got some bodies moving. I have a couple of questions about some plot points that felt a little Rise of Skywalker-ish that was upsetting. But other than that, I really did like this episode. So I'm coming in positive, guys. The Force is with me today.
There we go. May the Force be with you.
I'm here to fight for the light, man.
I think that's like unilateral. Like this episode by far, like in my opinion, was the best episode, like bar none. I think because of the fact that they really utilized the fact that they had Hayden Christensen and Ewan McGregor back at it again, and to see the fact that like what I thought just was so beautiful about this is that it was a very personal story at the root of it, right? It's a story about once again between these two people who really know each other and are playing like 3D like chess with each other, trying to figure out like what the next move is going to be for this person, you know? And to see like that background, especially with those flashbacks, which let's face it, can be kind of cheesy if not done right, but I was like, yes, I'm loving this. This is everything that I could have wanted. So like as far as like for all the other episodes, those were like this one was like, okay, all right, there we go. It feels like we're kind of getting our stride, which kind of feels melancholic at the same time because we literally have 1 episode left. So
upsetting.
It's just like you know?
I would definitely say this was probably my favorite episode so far. So like I would definitely say like I feel like as they keep going along, like as things build, I like each episode more because there's more added and I'm like, okay, cool, yes, I'm following. I know, Shaylin, we had a talk a while ago through the group chat, and you brought up something that I was like, you know what? Now that I think about it, I totally see it, and I can't unsee it. And that and all that had to do with like how they were utilizing how the writing was like cohabitating with the pacing, and I was like, I was wondering why things felt really shallow to a certain extent, and the minute you brought it up, I was like, oh right, that's why.
Yeah, the way I described it was essentially that every line was like a bullet point list of story beats that it had to hit. It just felt like every line was essentially like a necessary plot point being described and then ushering them through the story, and that just wasn't fun.
Yeah, and I blame this on the runtime personally because I am of the opinion ever since I finished watching Stranger Things, I'm like, you know what? what if, I mean, like, it's a lot to go through, but, like, because of how few episodes we have and how much ground they're wanting to cover, they really should have made these episodes, like, a full-ass hour.
Yeah.
Instead of freaking 39 minutes and 8 to 10 minutes of credits.
Why? Like,
I know, it is 10 minutes of credits. As soon as you saw baby Luke, I was like, oh, cool, 10 more minutes. And they were like, Deborah Chow.
Yeah. Like, no.
Like
So-
the most theatrical credits I've ever seen.
Yeah, so I would definitely say that a lot of things that I was really, you know, ready for came to a head, but because of that bullet point type action dialogue, certain deaths that happened, I was like, this should have been way more impactful. There actually were, I was like, there were clearly more conversations that were had that we didn't see that I think would have been incredibly important, because now internal character conflict is now taken a back seat, I think. But they're just like referencing it, like, I know you're struggling with the past, and I'm like,
How do you know that?
is he? You seem like you're assuming it because we as the audience know the context, but technically you don't know the full extent of the context as a character. I don't.
We got 30 more minutes to get to 2 different planets. We got someone had to say it, you know?
But I would say that, yeah, so in effect, because it was such a light build-up, like, I'm not saying the build-up wasn't there, I'm just saying because it was very light and to the point, there was limited resonance when things did kind of actually come to fruition as we wanted them to be, which was like the pleasurable aspect, but you're like, but I wanted more. There feels like there was supposed to be something more. And I think that just felt really evident in this episode. Now, I know I sound super harsh, but I really did enjoy this episode. I thought that the fights were great. I thought that the plan was great. I thought the conflict was great. I honestly never thought I'd be so excited about a flashback sequence ever. Especially, but it was utilized in a way where its key moments, it was thematically based, and I think that just really added to the emotional weight of it, and it was something that carried over, and I was like, yes, thank you.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was great seeing Hayden Christensen in action, and I totally think that they're all, as they were in the original, prequel trilogy, they were doing all of their own fighting stunts.
Yeah.
And I think you all knew what I said in the text group. I'm like, he looked like a full-ass man.
Yeah, but like,
Yeah.
I don't know,
What were we supposed to, what did we expect
Yeah.
to happen then?
Yeah.
It's
I like if they deep faked
Give a little bit of that Luke love.
Here's the thing with that, like, you see the deep fake Luke, and you see the deep fake Luke in that episode, and you're like, why? Like, it takes you out of it. It breaks the suspension of disbelief. So either you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. We can't please everybody.
And remarkably, they all look great.
Yes,
I don't think anyone
yes.
is alarmingly aged.
Yeah,
like Hayden Christensen looks great for his age.
Yeah.
And that's like, hey man, you could be. Like,
I believe
I
it.
actually questioned if they did some tech on him. At a few points, I was curious.
No,
He's just in a lot of makeup. I think that's all that it was. Because he wasn't like smooth, like a CGI smooth.
Right.
Like a makeup smooth.
His
but it was
smile
also
lines,
Yeah.
his smile lines gave him away. Because if you look back at the Revenge of the Sith,
Right.
I mean, we got to think about it. This is almost 20 years ago. Okay, like the man's aged a little bit.
And
You
he's
know?
been aged by the dark side.
By the dark
Yeah,
side.
we saw
As a
Palpatine.
Padawan, a Padawan.
Yeah, we wouldn't know. He had the ponytail.
Mhm.
Yeah.
The little rat tail thingy.
The rat.
It's a very controversial opinion, but I think he actually pulls off the hairstyle better now than he did when he was a kid, when he was younger. I think
He wears it more comfortably.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. There you
I
go.
think he has so
There
much
you-
more. He doesn't look awkward in it, which is
It's an awkward haircut.
It's so hard to pull off.
Honestly, that's shitty.
You know why they do?
terrible hairstyle for Padawan to wear. Actually, just have a rat tail.
You know why they do that? They're trying to embarrass you. Be like, yeah, you look like an idiot.
Well, actually, it's what happens when you teach kids they can't love or be angry.
Here, grow a rat tail out there.
No way the rat tail exists, canonically speaking, from the production side, because when I was preparing to watch Kenobi, we were watching the behind the scenes stuff for the prequels when the Phantom Menace stuff, because they had that available, and they were talking about like how they were trying to like figure out his haircut, because they were literally doing with it, like figuring it out with him in the chair, like it wasn't pre-planned. They were just, we're gonna try this out. We had an idea, but we're just gonna shave it all off anyway, because they had him grow it long, but then they were like, no, we're gonna get rid of it.
Right.
I thought I saw sketches of Rat Tail Anakin.
Yeah, no, Rat Tail was existing, but they made sure that he grew his full hair long. It was still like roughly, but essentially what George Lucas said was the rat tail is actually, the length is determined by the lessons that they've learned and how far along they are in their.
I heard that.
I had a neighbor sitting with me.
I love how Sophia always brings like the facts that like no one else would know about. Like she just drops some diamonds of like knowledge.
And I've never retained that. It's a good piece though. It's good.
Yeah. Well, so yeah, basically it's how far along you are as a Padawan. Right. And I think it definitely works better, like say if you see it on Padawans like say Ahsoka, who has, you know, the tendrils, and so hers are actually literal beads, and so the beads grow as it goes on rather than your hair.
Okay. Yeah. So I'm gonna be that guy. Having time to sit with it after watching it on Wednesday. To be honest, this is not my favorite episode. Like, I actually like the last episode a bit more, but
it was the rebel scene, them saving them. Is that what did it? is that what saved that episode for you?
So the problem is this episode, like we're talking about the pacing of this episode, but then we also kind of pointed by saying it was rushed. And that to me is just like, well, then there's a pacing issue, right?
Yeah.
And it's based on scheduling, but this episode to me had serious pacing issues where it's like, everything that Sophia said to me took me out of the experience of watching this episode. Now that I sat with it, where it's like, I understand narratively how this makes sense. It does make sense, but it doesn't feel earned. Like the fact that we just see Obi-Wan just take control of the situations, like, yeah, no, we're gonna do this, and it's like, wait, no, you were just struggling, like retaining your. So now you're the fucking guy. Like that's crazy.
Well, here's the thing: he's gonna have to fake his death. I just know that that's what's going on. Something's gonna happen. Either he's gonna slip away, or he's literally gonna have to pretend to die for to make sense. I think. I don't know.
Yeah.
A lot of these things didn't feel earned. That the death of that one lady and the robots, where it's like, I don't give a fuck about this robot. I don't know why I should.
That has been my favorite droid in like years. I am gonna say that has been.
The droid with no line.
I don't even know
the droid with no line. Listen, when he played dumb when those fucking like stormtroopers were raiding that village, I was like, that's my guy.
Yeah.
He's right here. I loved it.
I don't know, man. I just didn't feel tied to it. I only seen it in like one episode prior, and then it dies in the next, and it's like, okay, well that sucks. And then I'm forgetting the character's name, but it happened. Everything was happening so quickly that the build up to it didn't feel particularly earned. It never felt like genuine. It felt like it was going by the book, similar to what you're saying, Shane.
Right.
And like, I didn't mind it up until this point where it's like, it's the second to last episode. Of course, things are gonna wrap up to this point. But I was hoping that, you know, in particular, in terms of the arc, maybe things would, this type of build up or this type of finale where it's like a final battle would be in the last episode, but it's weird that we put it in the 5th. So it just feels like, well, why? I understand why you're doing it, because 6 episodes, but it just doesn't work. It doesn't feel.
We don't have time. And that's just it. Like as you kind of have pointed out, Tala's death. I was like, I know that there's supposed to be there's this specific emotional weight that goes with this sacrifice, and they literally did the 3 beats for it. You know, her introduction, her sacrifice, and then her sacrifice, and then her little bits with Obi-Wan Kenobi, in regards to like understanding and like giving the perspective of like people that left, you know, the Empire, and them sort of having a similar like dealing with their past situation. But because everything is moving so fast to accommodate for the 6 episode span, we don't get any time to have them sit with each other. And I literally think there are 2 conversations that they have, the one that she has with him in the ship and the one that she has with him after he gets the comm from Bale. I think together they are literally 2 minutes.
Right. No, exactly. And
together.
Yeah.
So,
I think Avi said it best in the last episode, where the biggest aspect of Star Wars is that you get to sit and stay in this world and stay with these characters, so that you get to know them and understand the world and the environment and the people who live and reside in this world. So far in this series, that's my biggest gripe that I have. We don't have time to sit with these people. I don't know any of these people other than Leia and Obi-Wan and fucking Vader. Like Reva, yeah, I get it. And honestly, I'm not trying to shun this episode. There are great things I like the thematic through line of having the flashbacks and then having that in contrast to what's happening in the main storyline. That's really cool. I actually really love that. Also, Hayden Christensen was killing it. I really did like Reva in this episode. I think this was, for a large majority of it, her episode.
Yeah.
And you know, her like revealing what her motivation is, and it's actually a pretty solid motivation. We were all right in the sense that she was a youngling. We all knew that, but I did like where it's like, yeah, I'm just trying to kill this motherfucker Darth Vader, and I hate you, Obi-Wan, because you did that. And it's like, yeah, I get it, it's whack, but like it also is very genuine of a hate. Like, that makes sense why you hate
Yes.
this guy.
But it feels like the easiest motive you can establish for a character that's had only 4 episodes prior to this. It feels like everything's a symptom of the runtime for the entire series.
Yeah.
So that's why I think this episode, just because more happens than the previous 4 episodes,
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, answers. I'm happy.
Yeah.
You know?
Like, Obi-Wan literally goes up to the wall and he's like, you hate Vader, you want to kill him. She's like, you got me. You got me. What?
and I'm like,
That's the thing that I was afraid of. I was saying it last episode. I swear to God, if it's the same deal as Fallen Order, I'm gonna hate this. And it's exactly the same fucking storyline. It's the same deal as Fallen Order.
Yeah.
It's 100% the same.
I guess what else could they have done?
That's the problem, where it's like you don't have enough time to build these characters. So it's very frustrating to watch it. Like, this episode was really frustrating to sit with, because it's like, damn, there's so much cool shit that happens here.
Yeah.
But when you really think about it, it's like, yeah, but this shit's kind of whack, because it's so formulaic. And it's like, it's so predictable. And it's just, it's not quite Star Wars. It genuinely isn't quite Star Wars. So it's just, it really does sour the experience.
I keep getting this feeling of originally this was meant to be like a film, right? And I just I'm getting the feeling that this series was a direct. I mean, obviously was a direct adaptation from that screenplay, right?
It wasn't, but it's very. I'm sure it's close.
Yeah,
I'm sure it is.
It's. I'm sure you got to expand it in probably in certain ways, but it feels like a very, very traditional film, right? Where a series, like you guys were saying, one of the beautiful things about series is that you have a chance to sit with an actor and do things that might not be like the most crucial thing in the world, right? But this one, it's always like, this is just, we got to keep the plot moving, right? Because we only got 6 episodes. You're right. With that character, what was her name again? See, I forgot her name. What was her name? Tala. Yeah. When she ends up dying, I was like, that's sad, but it didn't really emotionally impact me, because I didn't really have a chance to just be able to sit with you and be able to understand you on a deeper level than just you're in Star Wars, and Obi-Wan Kenobi somehow, and that's one thing that I think this whole series is just gonna not be able to overcome. right? Is the limited amount of time that they have to be able to do the things that they want to do, right? If they had taken their time, like Abby was saying last episode, if they take their time and let us sit with these characters, right, then like the people, like the fans will show up. Like that's a fact. The fans would show up and they would watch the shit out of it, right? Why not just give us, the 2, 3, maybe 5 seasons of this? You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, hey, But other than that, like,
some of that background information, I would love to know why. I really would.
In the scripts?
Or why this wasn't in any way extended.
It's
I'm
affordable.
very curious as to why they had to keep it like as short as they did. I do know
it's affordable.
Likely from some of the background, it was a movie, and then there was something in relation to I can't remember if it happened after they officially announced that they were actually now going to make it a series or not, but I know that there was a writer that got moved away from the project because of creative differences, as Kathleen Kennedy put it. And I do think that obviously everything's going to be speculation. They're not saying that there's any ill will in relation to the, him leaving the project or this writer leading the project. But I do think that there was there might have just generally been conflict about how the narrative was going. Maybe not necessarily like the formula of what's going on, but potentially maybe the pacing, and maybe there was like, we desire more time, and they're like, no, you are set within these bounds, you cannot move and you can't expand further. And maybe it's a marketing ploy so they can like announce that there's going to be some second season, because literally that's the biggest tease on the internet right now, is whether or not there's a second season, even though they've already announced it's a limited series. But the internet
isn't one, there will be one. I'm almost sure of it.
And I'm sure because people are like going after this, they're probably going to do a second season, no doubt, because they want to make money. That's very cynical of me to say, but I honestly think
true.
That's
it's Disney. You're just that's a fact.
Yeah.
I think if anything, giving something that is lackluster in pacing, but which forces us to want more, is what's going to push them to be like, we'll make more money off of it, because then we'll give them more by giving them all this like, surprise, another season.
I think it disenchants the entire fan base in the process, though.
Yeah.
I think it's fandom abuse to a certain extent, because it can't keep like stringing them along like it's a drug or a bad date,
Yeah.
I mean, it's unfortunate where Disney, like, I really was trying not to be very cynical with this, but seeing how every series, or even just this newest trilogy to now, how Disney has treated Star Wars, it's just like, y'all don't give a fuck about this property.
No.
Like, you don't.
You give
what you want from everything that they drop. That's why I'm turning the cheek on the series, because I'm just taking whatever I like and ignoring the things I don't.
Yeah.
So literally, I'm getting through this.
Yeah.
Honestly, I don't want to blame Kathleen Kennedy, but like, she has been the primary spearheader for this franchise, and obviously I have my own speculations about it, but I do, weirdly enough, I just get the energy that she's in this position for the money and out of spite.
Spite of what?
Oh, because, so do you know her background in her previous?
I mean, she worked with Spielberg, I know, at one point. She's had some good experience, or she's had some success.
She's had success, and she is one of those people that I think, like, in a vacuum, she's actually freaking brilliant, because she was able to make her way from being a secretary to literally running an entire franchise, amongst the likes of, like, say, like Kevin Feige. But I think because everything's been fumbled, and I think in regards to like a fan base that you can barely please, this balance that's sort of like not a balance, but this aspect that's like ingrained in the Star Wars franchise, which is merchandising, and coming from likely being, because I think she was specifically George's secretary, and I know she's not on good terms with him. So that's why I'm kind of get the energy that it's like, this is a spite thing. I've literally taken your entire franchise from you, sort of deal. But as I was saying, I'm probably putting words in mouths. This is just drama that I hear and I contemplate about. But like, I feel like that might be why there's not that much care, because there is this sort of energy in the leadership, and it falls back into once it went into Disney. There's also, beyond just like the desire for the fan base, it's the fan base's money, and let's merchandise the hell out of it, because people already expect that from us. People were giving criticism of that since Return of the Jedi. So,
well, my problem, it doesn't necessarily stand from, because look, I understand why he's a fan base, and generally speaking, it's hard to please any fan base by today's standards. That's just what it is. But my problem stems from the fact of there's a disrespect of the story, and like Star Wars is a fun, ridiculous story, but it still is something that people care about, and there are established rules and established lore and arcs that are part of the story. Like Obi-Wan, like when it comes to the Mandalorian, this is a whole new group of characters, so it's like, yeah, do whatever the fuck you want.
Yeah.
But with Obi-Wan, no, this is an established character that's cared about in the series and the franchise as a whole. So you would think you would treat this with the proper care and attention and time that it deserves. And that's my gripe, where it's like, why are you not, like understandably, production was during COVID, as well as, maybe there were just getting actors, big name actors on board. Like I'm sure there was a lot that went into this in terms of scheduling. But regardless of that fact, 6 episodes clearly just isn't enough time.
Yeah.
And like, if you care about this, why didn't you give it 8?
10.
If nothing else.
I guys liked what's been put out. I feel like I'm not surprised. This has been the happiest I've been with anything, like post-acquisition. Seriously, like they did it to Han Solo. They switched directors like 3 times and ended on Ron Howard, who's not bad. I would never hire the guy that made How the Grinch Stole Christmas to like shoot a Star Wars movie. There's just like, they've never cared about these characters. It's just about what they can milk from them. Yeah. And I don't know. I guess I've only been tuning in, and I've said to all of you guys in different capacities, I'm not watching any of the other shows, and I'm not really keeping up. I tried with a couple, but I really only came back because I wanted to see what Kenobi was doing after Order 66, and I think that's why all of us, came to watch and heard that Hayden Christensen was back. I mean, we were only pulled back in because of the originals from, the prequels. So with that, I kind of don't care that these like extra collateral characters along the way are trash, that there hasn't been any time to get to know them, because why would I want to get to know them? They're going to be ass. If they're going to be Rey and like Poe Dameron again, I don't want to care about you for 2 seconds and then hate you for the rest of like the next 3 years. I guess I didn't go into it caring. So now I'm just like, well, how does this end, guys? Canon, canonically speaking, where does this leave them?
I think that's one of the...
I'm not hung up on anymore, but
I feel like that's one of the biggest things. Like, George Lucas made $4.4 billion off of this deal, right? And he couldn't have put in a clause in there saying that the canon that was written, that the lore that had been written, the foundation of the entire series, had to stay that way if you wanted to do this. Like, shave $1 billion off, buddy. You don't need all of it. You're not going to be able to spend it. I'll tell you that. Well, you could. But like, you probably could. I could. Yeah, I could spend some money on some things, you know what I'm saying? But like, I think that was the biggest sin with this. And you can see it anytime that George Lucas has an interview with anybody we're talking about Star Wars, you can see it in the way that he talks about it. He's crushed. He hates the fact that he made that deal, right? And he wishes more than anything else that he could change it back. And now you can't, because it's now owned by the largest corporation with the cute, cuddly mouse as its fucking mascot, all right? Love Disney. love them, but also all they care about is the merchandise bucks that they're going to be able to get off from this fucking series. You know what I'm saying? So,
I don't know, man. Disney.
Everyone that I saw that came onto this reminded me that people were stoked about seeing Vader rip it out of the sky because they're like, oh my god, it's like Star Killer.
yes.
I did love it. I did.
But I know that you got something, so I want you to please divulge.
Thank you. Mostly because I forgot I said that. But I didn't like the Chewies actually in another ship fake out. Like, I was really hoping that when he got that ship on the ground, half of those survivors were going to get got. I think that's what we need. No, I'm serious. Like, this is peak Vader. Well, in my opinion, I think he's at one of his angriest points.
Yeah.
I don't know where this falls in terms of some of the no longer canon text of him then searching for ways to save Padme. I think, like, once he gets into that realm, which I now think is like legend stuff that is no longer relevant, but just in that era, the years following Order 66, he is like the craziest that he has ever been.
Right.
And I think in a lot of ways, that's why I've liked seeing the relationship between Obi-Wan and Anakin in this episode. I'm kind of venturing off, but I will take it back to the ship. I think this entire episode, Obi-Wan's like, I know how this guy thinks. He only sees me. And I think in a way he was wrong. Mostly because, yes, he's still egotistical and can't turn away from a fight. But I don't think he's no longer the kid that just fights without strategy. Like, he had this whole backdoor plan with the Grand Inquisitor just chilling. It didn't even seem like he needed to do this, and he still did it. He's no longer, or he's still hot-headed, but I don't think he's just kind of fighting his way through conflict. He's using his head, and I think having him have a moment, especially right before you find out that he's been using this massive strategy to try and basically backdoor someone planning to backstab him, having him murder half of that ship and then figuring out how the fuck Leia and Obi-Wan are gonna get out, that would have been some fun shit, just gonna say.
Right.
And then having a ship, like, just behind it that he didn't see or in any way feel in the Force, just zoom off, is like, what? Does he not have depth perception?
The Force is only good 30 feet. It's radar, you know what I'm saying?
It's the machine.
Right.
It makes it really difficult to hear a ship revving up behind a clearly, like, just dead.
Too, like, it turned on and then it was in the air.
No, it needed no kind of startup, no jump. It was literally just hyperdrive gone.
Yeah.
Like,
Resume. Yeah.
It just, that felt like such a fake out, because how would you have let them escape? They wanted the shot of him pulling the ship down, but not the consequences of that ship coming down.
Right.
And that's where I'm like, don't give me a sick shot and then not have them people deal with the consequences of getting caught in, like, Vader's wrath.
Right.
What?
I would have
survived that.
I would have loved if we just got, like, later on in the episode, like, when the Grand Inquisitor's over there and Rava's, like, trying to crawl, like, over to, like, the little speaker mic thing, like, just see the pilot, like, just, like, climbing out, being like, what the fuck, you know, trying to, like, survive after that terrible wreck. He's like, man, that sucked. I didn't like that at all. Why'd you guys make me do that? Yeah.
It had to have been a robot.
He's just like,
had to have been a droid that was piloting it, because there's, like, I'm like, there's no way someone was just sitting in there. And
they're like, I'm gonna wait it out.
I'm just gonna sit here. It looks pretty bad out there. Yeah.
I freaking loved it. It's like he ripped it open, and it literally was like a pilot that sacrificed themselves because all the droids had been taken out by the stormtroopers, and he just pulled them out. He's like, "Where are they?" And then the ship takes off.
The whole of the ship.
Yeah.
And you would understand, like, for I guess further sacrifice, but obviously, Shaylin, I'm kind of on your side. I definitely think there should have been larger consequences to something like that, for sure.
How do you do that when you have 15 minutes left in the episode?
No.
You don't. You don't.
So,
You can, but, like,
We can't remember Wayne.
You absolutely can.
Yeah.
Whatever.
I feel like it's also just, you know, Disney. I'm blaming Disney a lot for this, but I feel like with this, it's also just trying to please a wide, varied audience where it's like, you don't know, we don't know who's watching Star Wars at this point, so it's like, oh, we can't just kill a whole bunch of civilians, but also at the same time, it's like, yeah, but in the original series, he blew up a fucking planet. So I mean, like, why not? Like, why wouldn't he do that?
In like the first 20 minutes.
The first movie, he destroyed a planet.
Yeah, I need like a bloodletting from Game of Thrones level like fuckery that happens with it's the dark side. They need to do some shit that's nasty, that's mean, right? That makes like everyone be like, oh, okay, you know, they're not actually that bad. He pulled a ship out of the air, but nobody was in it. Yeah, you know.
Yeah, that's just property damage.
Yeah.
I care less.
One is murder, the other is property damage.
Well, the thing though, there's actually I find
even when the rebels, when the stormtroopers were storming in, like we barely saw some of the rebels get got. Like they really did take full advantage of the fact that stormtroopers are terrible at aiming, because we really didn't see that many rebels die. We saw far more stormtroopers get got. So yeah, that absolutely makes sense in terms of trying to make it palatable for a larger audience. But when you see a content warning like that, you're thinking it's a war.
Yeah.
So you're almost expecting it to be both sides are taking heavy damage and heavy casualties. But it was already just like, well, this is just that was actually very much the Star Wars for sure, 100%. Like I'm not truly complaining about that. It was just kind of confusing because it absolutely was for killing the younglings, which we didn't see. Like granted, like I'm not happy about that. I'm glad I didn't see that, but like
in relation to them, I would say.
Well, even with like Talia, like she actually was like, I remember actually experiencing when she gets shot, she pulls her hand up and it's bloody. I'm like, what the hell? Like that's just not something that is ever really happens. And maybe that was their way of being like, you care about this person. She's bleeding. What?
And it was like, who?
Who?
Okay. Theories about where things are going to go. We had a very interesting cliffhanger at the end of this episode where Reva crawls and actually gets Owen and Luke's name sort of situation, and I'm kind of in this realm of like, okay, but ain't she gonna be dead, or is she gonna literally survive with anger, because that's the only way people survive, if they're angry enough in Star Wars.
She's gonna flat out Darth Maul it.
Any wound, whether it's being burned, severed in limbs, or literally chopped in half, if they're angry enough, they'll make it.
Oh yeah, I totally forgot that homie like lived at the end.
He fell down. He got chopped in half.
Revenge makes you live.
That's great.
He's like, weren't expecting. That was also so unnecessary. I don't think anyone cared about the Grand Inquisitor in this series to need him to live.
I still don't remember his name.
He's the Grand Inquisitor.
After this series, that's literally it. Because he exists after this series, they had to make sure he didn't die. That's it.
Yeah, but it's like, then don't use him for shock value in the second, third episode. It's like you write yourself into holes that then you have to make a big deal to crawl out of. And I'm like, I don't want to watch you crawl out of the hole I didn't care you fell into.
Yeah.
What are you doing? It was such a waste of time. I'd rather spend that time watching Vader kill innocent people. That's what that time should have been used for.
That was I mean, oh my gosh, he just toyed with Reba. No tomorrow.
Beautiful scene.
And he came.
Half the way through the bit, I'm like, I told you guys earlier in these discussions, like I think a couple of episodes ago, he is there for the drama.
He's there. I love it.
The showmanship. So, I definitely think that you guys hit it on the head. That like his flair is now backed by strategy in the most pointed and malicious way, and it's just delicious.
Yeah.
Yeah, one could say Obi-Wan underestimated his power. It's like, he'll only see me. It's like, no, he won't. No, he won't.
I thought that was a really beautiful moment because, like, there is genuine confusion on his face. Well, I don't know. Like, you can't tell. I'm assuming things. But it felt like he was just, like, so angry with himself by the fact that he let Obi-Wan go, right? And I felt, in my mind, he looked confused. I'm gonna say he was confused. And then all of a sudden, Reva, with her awful ass timing, just is like, walking up and like, you know, like tries to strike him down, and he's like, I see you coming from a mile away. You know, that moment where he like just stops her like moving with his hand. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful, right? Not turning on his lightsaber to fight her. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah, 100%. Like, to Shaylin's point, like, it really does show that he grew up or is strategizing more in the sense of like, yeah, I've been known. Like you're not hiding it. And granted, Reva was not really hiding it that much.
No. She talked about it out loud in front of the entire stormtrooper.
Yeah, like just whispering up in the open, like.
He was like, "So we'll kill him together."
The other guys are like, you hear this?
Yeah, just stormtrooper like, did you see this?
Like, you hear that?
You want me to walk back inside with him now? What?
She didn't say a yes or a no, so plausible deniability. Should we be concerned?
Maybe.
It's like, I don't know.
Yeah, like, I don't get paid enough, really, so I'm just gonna.
Sorry.
What's the,
You were
what's
saying
the-
theories. You were giving up theories for this final episode.
Yeah.
I mean, the only theory I have is really the only hope I have for the series. Like, I swear to God, if I don't hear Liam Neeson's voice in episode 6, I'm a rage.
Yeah, man.
That's the only thing I got on my mind.
Literally copy and paste the Taken line. That's all I need, right? I have a lot of skills. I will find you and I will kill you. You know, like even just do that, man. Like I'll take it. I'll take it at this point.
I really, they have to do it. They have to establish a connection with Qui-Gon so that we understand how he's able to live forever.
Yeah.
Like, that has to happen. If it doesn't happen, I'm gonna be genuinely confused.
Yeah.
I think it will. That's it will
happen. Here's the thing. I'm kind of at a point, because of how the narrative is gone, because the through line of him trying to like the connected, like any of the sitting in regards to him trying to communicate with Qui-Gon Jinn, I don't know if it will feel earned. I don't think we have the time to make it feel earned for this to show up. And I don't think he's actually dealt with his trauma at all. And I feel like I'm building it up because we're like ready for this, but like the story has not worked to earn it.
Yeah.
And it never will.
I feel
Take the moment out of context and just live with it in your hearts. Just be happy Qui-Gon Jinn is back.
I gotta side with Shayla on that. Like, episode 5, bro, it was whack. Like,
anyone that's just watching the series clean will have no idea who that voice is. They'll be like, who the fuck is this guy? It won't make any sense to anyone without prior knowledge. This is a terrible thing to do, but who cares? We have prior knowledge.
Yes, right. That's right. I mean, I bet you anything they're gonna like do the same thing they did with Rise of Skywalker, the last one in the last trilogy. Yeah. But I like where she turns on her yellow lightsaber and she's like, new lightsaber, and then roll credits. What? Why didn't you use that? You know? So like I bet you he's gonna drop off Leia, he's gonna go check on Luke, and then all of a sudden he's gonna hear Liam Neeson talking. And then it's gonna be, you're gonna see like his little like ghostly body, and then it's gonna be roll credits, and that's it. I bet you anything, Reva's gonna show up at the end, and that's like, I'm not entirely sure what they can do with Reva at the end. Either she's gonna be like, nah, I'm still gonna kill you because you left me there to fight Vader by myself. Thanks for that, by the way. Or
oh yeah. Go ahead, keep going.
Or she'll be like, I'm chilling with you now. We're homies. Roll credits.
I'm anticipating the Qui-Gon Jinn. Mostly, I've been watching the highlights mostly to kind of cheat to see where they want to move narratively, because those sort of previews, look back at the previous episode, they really just give you all the plot points that you need to remember going into the future episode. So I've noticed that they have been highlighting from that first episode Obi-Wan talking to Qui-Gon. That's been in some of those previews for each episode. So I'm noticing that that's something that they clearly want people to remember. I'm pretty sure that's going to happen just because of that. If not, someone should teach them how to make trailers, because that would be ridiculous to keep including that really small part that does not pay off. So I think that's going to happen. I'm hoping that there'll be like a mano-a-mano actual Vader Obi-Wan fight. Like I need it to happen. Not even slightly. I need at least 20 minutes dedicated to it. Yeah, from there, I don't know. I don't know what's gonna come of Reva. Is it Reva or Rev?
I think it's Reva.
Oh,
Reva.
Sorry.
I feel like they just call it
I'm
third
sorry,
sister
guys.
so much. Whatever. I've already forgotten. Reva.
These are shrieky.
But I'm not sure what's gonna come of her, so that's interesting. I'm curious to see how they're gonna work in Luke. Yeah, I'm overall interested to see how they're gonna pull all these threads together in another 39 minutes.
I feel like this episode has to be longer by default, right? Like,
I'd hope so.
God, please, 90 minutes
You can have it be
minimum. Minimum.
Like, there's no way that they're gonna. There's physically no way they're gonna be able to tie up all these loose ends.
A lot will likely be left up to interpretation in that case.
Yeah.
Which will probably be for the better, because then we can't be mad at decisions they made because they didn't make decisions.
Yeah.
Great.
Like, oh, you got me.
Yeah.
No. What were your final thoughts, Sophia? I feel like you had a lot to say.
Okay. So clearly they're getting Reva alive. She's gonna make it through the final episode. I honestly thought she was just gonna die straight there in this episode. And it actually, if anything, it would have just acted as like tragic. Because, you know, there's a lot of tragedy, especially like post Revenge of the Sith. It's the tragedy trajectory. So I wouldn't have been surprised, and I think that it's still, even though obviously everything's been rushed, I think that still would have held like pretty significant weight. Like, we saw it coming, we knew this was how things were going to end, but clearly they're still wanting to maintain her until the final end. I think people definitely are like, I thought that her anger at Obi-Wan was uncalled for, because he literally was not there because he was fighting Grievous on another planet. So I don't know why she was mad. There were literally 10 million other Jedi that were doing that, and he also fought Anakin later. I don't know. I thought it was for it, but whatever. I think that we're gonna get a fake out, because I think people are suspecting that she's gonna go after Luke and like want to like strangle, because she's like, oh my gosh, you were on Tatooine to protect this kid or whatever. Or this was like something important, and she like kind of put the dots together, especially once she heard Owen. So we're expecting that she's gonna assume like, oh, Owen, like the guy that I threatened. And I think if she's still on her path to like mess with Vader, she's gonna be like, oh, this is somebody who needs protection, and so I think she might go snuff him out in order to not harm, but in order to protect on behalf of Obi-Wan, because he's been taken away from his duty there. And I think that's going to be a fake out. I think Qui-Gon's going to show up. Possibly he may not say a line. We're literally, I think, going to get a blue haze outline, and that's how the episode's going to end. Vader and Obi-Wan do need to fight one-on-one, and then obviously Leia's going to get home to her family. Because, yeah, Leia existed in this episode.
It's my favorite Leia episode, to be honest. I think the less she talks and the more that she's just helpful, the more that I'm like, thank you for not being a precocious kid right now. I love you, Leia. I love you when you're just figuring stuff out.
Just gonna find the wire.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I think that's gonna come to fruit. That's gonna resolve itself, obviously. And I think I'm just stating how things are just gonna generally tie up. I honestly don't think that the Luke stuff is going to be of any consequence. I literally think it's just going to be a fake out, with Reva actually just protecting him rather than trying to promote harm. And I think that's all I have theory wise. Yeah. Or I don't know. Maybe she is too angry, and
I'd be kind of surprised with that as well.
She's not just because her eyes haven't changed. Who freaking knows?
What's your thought, Jayla? You went like wide-eyed for a second, like.
You just, as you were saying that she's gonna protect Luke, in this, if I'm wrong, like burn me at the stake because this is ridiculous. Then, but
yeah, no, I'm not saying it's like this. Obviously, this is solely a theory. I'm not stating on whether or not.
Yeah. No, we're theorizing. But I was thinking, if this is going to be of no consequence, we know to start off, Vader doesn't know he has a son.
Right.
So he doesn't, it's not like she in any way connects him to Anakin. What if she just, no, she can't really stay in the Empire. That actually just took away my theory. But I was thinking, what if she stays kind of within the Empire and protects Luke from there? If like that's kind of her way of, but why Vader would not let her back? Right? Yeah.
And so I don't know. I think she would still see Luke if she figures out that like if for some reason she figures it all out that it's like children of Anakin, Leia and Luke, blah 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 blah. I think she might do it as like, oh, I gotta make sure this kid stays safe because this kid is who's gonna kill Vader for me. I enact my own revenge because clearly I have no ability to do so. All her rage could not measure up to what Vader is.
I think it's more realistic.
He is, but I don't know. I purely see that as she's like, I will protect this kid to be an extension of my revenge.
Yeah, I think I don't know. I feel like knowing how Disney and how formulaic it is, they're probably gonna go with the angle, Jesus Christ, of Reva protecting this kid, not knowing that this is Anakin's child. Like for whatever reason, if that were the case, she just decides to protect this kid, sacrifices her life for this child, and maybe like at the peak of her death, like right when she's about to go. Maybe the Force, I don't know, like sees a vision of this child fighting Vader. That's right, where it's like, oh wait, this kid is the son of this guy I fucking hate. Oh, what's going on?
The Force.
Keep going.
No, yeah. Maybe she like senses midichlorian count. And she's like, this kid.
I like you.
She touches a wall, and she's like, oh.
Talk to me.
You have daddy issues.
Eddie, go ahead. I mean, Bail is clearly a component here because Bail is probably going to show up on Tatooine. Because he's like, yo, if I don't hear from you, I'm like straight up going to go there to like help Owen with the kid. But Eddie, you had your what's.
No. I was just doing a thing. I already said my theories. I really hope that they got to give us a fight with them. I think at the end of the day, because we got this initial tease with them, and we have to see some form of an arc with him. Obviously, a very rushed arc, but we need to see an arc nonetheless with Obi-Wan Kenobi, and like to see that he's made some progress from like their first encounter since the Duel of Fates. I think that's the correct one. Or the Duel on Mustafar, to be more specific.
Freaking like.
Yeah. I'd be surprised.
Vader showed up.
Yeah.
To deal with him. I mean, because I don't know, as an audience, we're like, we don't love seeing Kenobi basically beaten down and charred.
Yeah, which is ironic because like the first time that they fight, we see him die. Like maybe that's it. We're used to Obi-Wan Kenobi being the loser because that's the first time we meet him. He loses, right? And that's if you look at the lore of Obi-Wan, he was never the best. He was never the strongest. He was never like the best of the best. But by his humbleness, by the fact that he knew that he wasn't the best, was the thing that made him the best, right? And that was the thing that ultimately why Obi-Wan Kenobi is Obi-Wan Kenobi. You know? Yeah. But do you guys have any like last thoughts? Any little final thoughts? No? No?
I have one. I'm not sure if this is better suited for a last episode.
Okay.
So feel free to ignore this
Hit
if
it.
you want to save it.
Hit it.
But I'm
We
curious
can cut
to know.
it.
I think all of us were you got it. I'm curious to know, mostly because all of us were really excited for the series. Now that we're basically at the tail end, how would you compare how it's been thus far to how you expected it to be an episode away from the finale? So how you like let's say 1 to 10, how does it compare to what you thought? 10 being it's pretty damn near the excitement, and 1 being it's been the worst disappointment I've ever had in my life.
4.
I'm gonna give it a 4. I think that, like, for the most part, I tempered my expectations. It's still hard. It's still hard to see. Where it's like, yeah, I really wish you tried. I do wish you tried a bit harder, but like, I can't be surprised.
Yeah.
What was that, Eddie?
Ewan McGregor, Hayden Christensen, Darth Vader, Obi-Wan. Boom. That's the 4 points right there, okay? And and like obviously there's some fandom there, but like there's definitely some missing points there, especially if you're going to do a series. Don't half-ass a series. Do a fucking series, like commit to it. Commit to the fact that the fandom would want to see it. Sorry. 4.
Honestly, that's what I blame. I blame production hell, and I blame the pandemic, and I blame corporate. I think that is because I don't want to blame the creators and the writers and the director behind this.
Yeah,
I think
the director is amazing.
What they got.
The director. They said writer. I was like, Eddie, the writers are not amazing. But the director, she's doing great. I think so.
Those handheld shots this last episode was beautiful.
Saving a lot of this. Oh my gosh. But yeah, I don't know. I think when we first made our ratings, I had set myself at a 6. I would actually drop down to a 5 personally. I think solely because I get the endorphin high as a fan, and it is only upon reflection that I'm like, well, maybe I'll watch it again. And that's just where I am. And I think because that is actually now my baseline for a lot of media, I can't be mad. Yeah. And I'll also just, I'm a person that had like a lot of lore stuff that got axed in the acquisition that I really loved reading. And so if anything, this puts everything in like a neutral way where I don't have to identify either one as superior. I can just be like, it's a story. It's a story with characters that I like, and whether or not it's how I always expected it would be or what I had hoped it would be, I think there is a shadow, and I think that was enough. Right. That'll have to be enough. Right. So, I know that sounds so freaking sad.
It's true, though. It's true.
It makes sense.
You got this episode that came down.
So you're at a 5. I'm at a 4.
I think I'd say I'm also a 4.
You're a 4?
Yeah, I'd say I'm in a similar boat. Especially echoing Sophia. I just haven't really expected the most. Honestly, this episode has been my favorite because it felt like it was the first time the story didn't revolve around points or sort of beats that the story needed to hit. It felt like the first time it was furthering the story of Star Wars. I felt like I was understanding what might have led up to A New Hope. Just with it being this was a battle between Obi-Wan and Vader, I could see this being a memory for both of them in that final fight on the Death Star. So I enjoyed it for that reason, just because it felt like it had the promise of depth and the promise of like recalling something that felt familiar, being Anakin and Obi-Wan's relationship. But all in all, it's been a disappointment. But I think that's kind of been the franchise feeling in general. Like, I'm a big Scream fan, and I've just decided that for me, the franchise has to end with the first 3. For Star Wars, the franchise just has to end with the prequels for me, and the Clone Wars series. Like, I've just kind of accepted that, and anything that gets made after is just like optional. So,
right. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see where this falls finally, but.
Okay.
Well, leave your theories, leave your comments down below of what you guys hope the series will do, or do you guys think that they're ultimately gonna start up on a new series? Do you not? Leave your likes, leave your comments down below, and until next time, We'll see you later. This is Star Talks.
Later.
I don't know. I don't know.